ज्ञानाञ्जनतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Clap loudly, both your hands. Yeah, clap your hands like the way I'm doing. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Welcome everybody to today's Bhakti Vrksa in Millbrae in the home of Bhakti and Neeral Shah.
आ जाइए नहीं ठंडा लगता है ना
So I see many new faces today. So we'll start as usual with our round of introductions. And if Khyati can also pass on the printouts. Khyati Majji. Ari hai, theek hai. So we'll start with you because you have some new people. They might want to. So Hare Krishna, my name is Shraddha Devi Dasi and I'm here from Foster City, California. Krishna Leela Mataji, there are people watching you on Facebook. So, and this is for everybody as well, that just speak a little bit loudly so that they can hear your voice.
Hi Krishna, I'm Vishakha. I'm from Birmingham.
Welcome, Vishakha.
Hare Krishna, this is Krishna Chandra Das. I'm from Birmingham.
Hare Krishna, welcome.
Siddharth Jain from Birmingham.
Siddharth Prabhu from Birmingham.
Dilip Amin from Birmingham.
Dilip Amin from Birmingham. Today is Birmingham heavy.
Hi, I'm Raj Kohli from South San Francisco.
Raj Kohli from South San Francisco. You have come to Venu? Very good.
Hare Krishna. I am Piyush from Foster City.
Raju. Yeah. What happened to your kids?
I actually am coming from office directly.
From
I got so late.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't go home.
Raju from Birmingham.
Hare Krishna, welcome.
Vinu from South San Francisco.
Venu, South San Francisco. Hari Bol. And the host.
And the
Please
host.
introduce
from Millbrae.
Khyati from Millbrae.
And the
And my
wonderful
mom, Jyoti.
Your mom too. You can't act like the mom. She made all the prasadam.
Okay. Facebook में live है ना अभी?
Facebook में भी है live on Facebook. Yes.
Link है क्या?
Yeah, I think.
Is the same link always?
Yeah, I mean, you can, I think even if you post it on my I can do that as well. Might be faster. So I just want to make sure that everybody has got the printout, right? And
But not reading glasses.
you don't have reading glasses? Ah, you can use my glasses.
I take my eyes.
Okay. Yeah, so I just put that there. Put the link there. Yeah, maybe I should copy that. share it. Maybe I should be able to share it, right? Share in a group. Oh, that goes to WhatsApp. No, I can't do that. Just give me a second here while I get this thing sorted out. Did you get the link?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Okay, you're good. Okay, so I've just posted the. Okay, good. So, so we actually were talking last time about whether the supreme truth has got a form or not, right? That's what we're talking, and then we just did talk about one part of it, right? And we kind of called it, it's a big chapter, so we will need to do that. So today, what I want to do is to, is there a spare copy that I could also keep?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is that let's have a recap, because it's a long time. It was a big gap, right, between the time that we talked last and now. So we could all do with a little bit of a recap. Yeah. So DT or idol? Oh, Kathy, we needed the 16 because we didn't complete 16 last time, right? 16. Yeah, from last time. Yeah. You're one chapter ahead. That's good. That's a good sign. Okay. So let's go there. So we had talked about 3 aspects of the absolute truth, right? And we had quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattva yach jnanu advayam brahmeti parmatmeti bhagwaniti shabdate, right? So we're talking about 3 aspects of the Lord, brahmeti parmatmeti. So we talked about Brahman majorly last time, and we were talking about the effulgence that comes out from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then we had mentioned and alluded to Paramatma, right? So what is Paramatma?
Super soul.
It's the super soul, right? And where does the super soul live? In which part of the body?
In the soul.
Yeah, the super soul lives in the area close to the soul, in the heart.
16th I don't have like on the printout. I
Heart
think we
region.
gave away last time few.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and you were supposed to bring them back with you.
So probably we can share amongst.
Yeah. So at least you can take back 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, please, so that next time you will have
I
something.
thought we only had like a little bit left, but
17?
16.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 16 I just touched the Brahman part of it, Paramatma and Bhagwan I didn't do.
17
Well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Let's
I
see how
think
it
let's
goes.
keep it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
see if
And
there
then
is
we
a
can
time for
just,
something.
yeah. Let's do that. Okay. So let's just do this. Yeah, I'm going to read it, and then you can all follow along, right? Does that make sense? Or you guys want to read? Anybody wants to read? In a reading mood? Yes or no?
Sorry?
Yes or yes? Want to read?
We can read.
Okay, good. Then why don't we all do one paragraph each? So we'll start with you, Krishna Mataji.
Where?
From chapter 16. Okay.
Is it from the beginning or?
Yes, from the beginning. Yeah, we just need to do a recap because we need to have our bearings right.
Okay. Whether the divine has a personal form or is impersonal has been a subject of raging controversy throughout the ages. Within the theistic traditions of India and the world, there are varying opinions on the subject. For many, it is not too difficult to understand the presence of an energy and presence of a higher power in nature and even in oneself. There is a school of thought within Hinduism that the Supreme is without form or qualities. A person pursuing liberation with this notion of the divine is supposed to, upon death, leave this material body behind and become one with the Supreme by merging into the impersonal energy.
However, according to the Bhagavad Gita, the soul is eternal, active by nature, and can never be destroyed. The soul can merge into the Supreme, but can't remain in that inactive state perpetually. The soul needs activity and interaction with others, and it's especially hankering for a loving relationship with the divine. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that he reciprocates with individuals according to the way they approach him. The goal of life, described by many spiritual traditions, is to develop a loving relationship with the Supreme. Love has to be reciprocal, which means love can only exist between 2 or more individual sentient beings. We can't love something inanimate simply because an object can't love us back. We like to make the claim, I love my car or I love my hair, But that's not love, because our car or hair doesn't love us, and it really can't love us in reality. Even though it may sound attractive and may be easier to understand that the Supreme Divine is a formless energy, it's not possible to exchange love with formless energy.
So we all have a personal form. Our neighbors, our friends, and even the butterfly has a personal form. In fact, every living entity has a form. Krishna says in the 10th chapter of Gita that everything emanates from me, Bhagavad Gita 10:8, and all of us have forms. How can God, the source of everything and one from whom all of us have originated, be impersonal? Our Father has a personal form. His Father has a personal form. His Father also has a personal form. Even how can the Supreme Father not have a personal form?
Okay. Where we are? Some might offer the argument that imposing a personality upon the Supreme is limiting him. But let us consider this. By definition, God is perfect and complete. Being the complete whole, He must contain everything both within and beyond our experience. Otherwise, He cannot be complete. Therefore, to be perfect and complete, God must be both personal and impersonal. When we are all having personal forms, why should someone consider that the absolute truth in the ultimate sense not have a form? It is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Generally, people who are too attached to the bodily conception of life cannot understand that there is a transcendental body which is Satchit Ananda, imperishable, full of knowledge, and eternally blissful.
In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep this same bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Divine. Consequently, they feel that the Supreme cannot be personal, and because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. When they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again, and so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void to achieve peace.
The fact that the Supreme Divine has a personal form, whose bodily effulgence is the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, can be well understood from several scripture statements. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, the Absolute Truth exists in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yaja gnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdayati.
The Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the Absolute Truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of Absolute Truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. These three divine aspects can be compared to the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's form, and the sun planet, etc.
Brahman is the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, which is actually the effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It can be compared to the sunshine or the energy of the sun. In trying to understand the sun, the ordinary students are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine. its universal pervasiveness and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature. Such students can be compared to the Jnanis or the mental speculators who can realize only this Brahman feature of the absolute truth.
So we stopped here because the last time we kind of stopped here on the concept line. So let's do a quick recap of some of the key words that stuck your mind when you read this part of the handout.
We can't love something inanimate.
We can't love something inanimate. Okay.
It's a reciprocity, like we love Krishna and Krishna loves us back.
Okay, so love requires reciprocity. So if you say that I love my car, don't say that, right? Rajashri Prabhu says don't ever say I love my car because it's never going to love you back, right? Okay. What else? So why do people take to impersonal? Why do people like the fact that after we die or after we are liberated, then we won't have a form? Why do they like to think like that?
If we won't have a form.
Yeah. The first.
Because like we're suffering right now, so they feel that if you have a form, you'll have the same suffering.
Very good, because they associate suffering with the body, right? And actually, there was a statement here which was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I'm just trying to look at that.
So when they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again, and so they naturally prefer kind of merging into the impersonal void to achieve peace.
And there's one more. In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. How do you like that for a Friday evening? That we have a body that is perishable, that's full of ignorance, and completely miserable. And I can tell you that as the age progresses, the miseries just increase because of the body, till it becomes an embarrassment for you, the body itself. So people don't like that idea at all. Right? And then what were some of the things that were said about why Supreme would have a form, and why he is not formless? There was some very nice.
Your father has a form, his father has a form, and then
Very
how can
good.
the super body?
Yeah. So how can the original not have a form, right? But then there was also an argument that imposing a personality on the god is kind of restricting it. So how do we counteract that? How was that counteracted? That you're restricting him to have a shape. So that gets covered by the verse that Khyati Mataji quoted from the Bhagavatam. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti parmatmeti bhagwan iti shabdate. It's right at the bottom of the first page. So whenever it comes to Krishna, or Krishna we call as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whenever it comes to God, by definition, when you ask questions of God, then the answer will never be no to anything, right? So if you ask the question, does Krishna have a form? Then the answer should be yes. If you say, is Krishna is formless? Then the answer should also be yes. It will not be no. Because if you're saying no, then he's not complete. Because for something we are given no as an answer. But Krishna is complete, his own Purnamada, Purnam, he's Purnam, he's complete. So if he's complete, then the answer should be yes for everything. So then how do we explain that? Right? That Krishna has a form and Krishna doesn't have a form. So now it's saying that Brahmeti Paramatmeti. So Krishna, there's Brahman part of Krishna, which is the effulgence or the light part of Krishna. So that is also Krishna, and that doesn't have a form. Light doesn't have a form, it just emanates there, right? So that, and then we have Paramatma, who is there, all pervading in everybody's heart. And then we have Bhagwan, which is Krishna, who is residing in the Golok Vrindavan. So that is how we, through this, as the wise people are saying, Vadanti Tattvavidas. Tattvavidas means those who have understood the Tattva. Those who know what is the truth, they are the ones who are saying, right? Because we don't know the truth, and we have been talking about for the past several weeks about the imperfect senses, right? So if you have imperfect senses, we can't figure out something which is beyond the material realm. So we have to hear and we have to listen to what others are saying, those who have known the truth. So Vadanti Tattvavidas, those who know the Tattva, those who know the truth, they are saying that Krishna or Lord or Bhagwan, he exists in three phases or three aspects. There's Brahman, Paramatman, Bhagwan. And then there was a nice example that they gave. What was the example that they gave? There was an analogy that they drew.
The sun.
The sun, very good. What was the analogy?
So like the sun has effulgence, which is compared to Brahman. It
Brahman.
has the surface of the sun
Okay.
is compared to
Sort of Paramatma, you can say.
Paramatma, and like the sun god is compared to Bhagwan or
Bhagwan,
personal
yeah.
feature.
Yeah, so people do that. But here in this particular, they are saying sunshine, the sun's form, and then the sun planet itself. But sometimes people do equate Bhagwan to the sun god, Surya Devta. Okay. So now let's continue. Whose turn it is to read? Mataji, you're saying? Any questions or doubts on this part of it?
Mataji, I have one question. So when we say our form, we have taken like so many bodies, right? So what form? And what
Very good
relation?
question. Yeah, very good question. So we are saying that we have got a form, and so we are talking about a material form. So look at it from the material perspective. Then, and every bird we have a different form.
Yeah.
Right? I could be a human being, I could be a human being in the next life as well, and we all will be human beings in the next life, because anybody who says Hare Krishna for even once in this lifetime will get a human body in the next time. And you guys are pretty advanced, so that's a guarantee, unless we do something drastic. So we will get a human form, but not everybody gets a human form. They also get other forms, like what other forms can we get in the next life?
Or could be 64,000 different forms.
Very good. You had 8,400,000 or 84 lakh forms. You can get all of them. Yeah. So we could be in any one of those unis. Okay. So this is again all these 8,400,000 forms that we're talking about. We're talking about the material form. Okay. So that will change. But the soul also has got a spiritual form, which is fixed, and which you will discover. As your devotional service progresses, you will discover. It will be revealed to you.
Because it's a relation between that form and Krishna, right? Not this material body.
Yes, but even in this material form also, we can have a relationship with Krishna.
Yeah.
Using this material form, but the ultimate and the permanent relationship is that, which is of the spiritual. Yeah, good question. Any other questions or comments, thoughts before we go further?
Actually, you were asking about, you were saying why this form, right? Because it just reminds me of something Bhagavad Gita. He says, because we are human, we can think more in a human form and then relate more.
Yes, relate more. Chapter 12. Yeah. Because sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, complete your thoughts.
So I was just saying that in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjun point blank asked this question. Point blank. Even in the first verse itself, he's saying that which are better, those who those who worship the impersonal or those who worship you. Krishna is standing in front of him in his form, and Krishna also point blank settles it. Second verse he settles the thing. Right? Maya vesha manomimam nitya yukta apasate. Shraddhaya paryupetas teme yukta tama. Mata. So according to me, they are the best. Who? Those who worship me. So me means that Krishna is standing there in the form. So he's saying like that. But then he doesn't refute the other part of it where you could be worshipping and the impersonal part of Krishna. So he just, in the third and the fourth verses, again, he says that, Anirdeshyam, Avyaktam, Achintyam, Sarvatragam, he's talking about all those aspects of Krishna. And then he says that people who worship that form, and they would be engaged, but those kind of people would typically be doing, because there's no form as such, so what do you do for goodness, right? So then you go and sarva bhuta hete rata, you try to do good for other people. So that's why you'll find some of the groups who are more in the impersonal aspect of it, they will be doing a lot of these evangelistic activities and philanthropic activities. So he says that they also find me ultimately, they will also find me, right? Ultimately, sarva mameva, right? So sarva bhuta hetirata. But then in the fifth verse again he says that klesho adhiktarastesam avyakt asakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukham dehavadbhir avapsati. So he's saying klesh means difficult, dukhi. But he's saying that those who are embodied, and that's the verse Neera Prabhu that you were referring to, that those who are embodied, for them it is very difficult to think about and imagine and focus your mind on something which doesn't have a form. So if I were to sit down and say, Mataji, can you just sit down and close your eyes and think about Krishna and just try to, just focus your mind on Krishna, and then you'll ask, how is Krishna? Describe Krishna to me, and I'll say, he is formless. So what will you think? Because everywhere, everything around you has got a form. You have a form, the chair has a form, table has a form, everything has got a form. So it is difficult. It is difficult to do. And when they say that those who are formless, they also find God. So they'll also find God in several places, in several stages. Number one, because they have been thinking of Lord as without a form, so they will approach the impersonal. They will approach the impersonal effulgence, the Brahman part of Krishna. So they will find that light, and they will think this is God, and they will think that I have achieved my goal, right? And so they will there, and this is what is called as merging of the soul. So soul, well, you could just go and kind of like hang in the Brahma Jyoti. Different souls will be hanging there, and but the problem with that is that after I'm hanging there, what do I do? Because soul by nature is very active. The soul has to do something. The soul cannot sit quiet for even a half a moment like that.
But
So
Mataji, in Bhagavad Gita it says that soul does nothing, right?
soul does nothing in the material form. Like what it is saying is that when you're in a body, if I'm sneezing or if I go ahead and if I slap somebody and I'm thinking like I did it, so the soul is not doing it.
Yeah, that's
Right?
a
Soul is
material
not.
mode.
Yes. But when the devotional service is happening on the transcendental plan, soul does everything.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. So, so where was I?
You were saying
Soul cannot sit.
Yeah, so
In
we're saying they
Brahma
find the
Jyoti.
effulgent. Yeah, so they will be the soul cannot sit idle, right? The soul cannot sit idle because by nature it is Sat, Chit and Anand, right? So it has to also get some Anand out of it, and soul is always active. So it has got nothing to do, so it'll get bored from there, and it'll ultimately fall down back again to where it started. So it'll come back to the earth. So
How
after
does
doing
it fall down again? Is it through thoughts or?
just from sheer boredom, because there's no thoughts also, because it has left behind the mind also that generates the thoughts.
Oh, so
Just mind.
just like that it falls.
Just like that it'll come back because it'll be bored, yeah. It'll come back and take a body again. Now the problem is that the soul has been conditioned into thinking that the Lord doesn't have a form, right? So from that condition, when it comes up over here, it'll start into that thing again. It start doing whatever it has to do, any vratas it has to keep, any books it has to read, any classes it has to enter. It'll and have that affinity to do that because that's what the soul has been doing, right? So now it requires the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. Only when such a soul comes across a pure devotee of the Lord, like Srila Prabhupada, right? Or even the four Kumaras that we know, Sanat, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar, they were impersonalists at one point in time. And they were wandering from one place to another place and they finally reached Vaikuntha planet. And what do they smell? They smell the tulsi leaves that were offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. And from that smell, they get attracted to the personal form of the Lord. So people can get attracted to the personal form of Lord in different ways. I mean, of course, if you are so exalted that you are the four Kumaras and you can travel to Vaikuntha planets, then you are in good luck. But not everybody. They might just come back here, so they will require a Prabhupada, or a Prabhupada disciple to expose them and explain to them that, it's Krishna is really the personality of God. And now you focus your mind in this. So once they stay to the personality of Godhead, then a whole new thing opens up for them. What's the whole new thing that's opened up for them is now they can engage in devotional service. Now, there is a form, so now you like to bring a deity into your form. So like you see over here, Khyati Mataji can tell you how much is involved in maintaining this table at this altar over here, right? Mom does it, right? So you have to get a mom there. So mom is engaged constantly. Mom has to be engaged constantly because they have to be, woken up in the morning, and as soon as they wake up, you just can't then wake up and say, hey, you have to go to school, get up, brush your teeth. You can't do that to the Lord. When you wake him up, you have to give him food, right? So before you wake them up, you have to prepare something for him. So there's constant activity that's going on. You have to you have to collect flowers for them, you have to buy flowers for them, you have to get vegetables, plan the menu, what he likes, figure it out, and then cook and then offer, wash the dishes, and put them to sleep, bathe them, put new clothes, buy new clothes. It's a constant activity that goes on. And it's such a loving relationship that happens because Krishna will reciprocate. And the deity forms also reciprocate. It just depends on, how much faith you have in the deity, because when the deity is there, it is God. It is not a statue. So it's wrong to call it a statue there. Because statue is, you can have a statue of anybody. You can have Mr. Trump's statue or Lincoln's statue or anybody's statue that you like. The statue is lifeless. But a deity is transcendental. When the deity is there, there is God there. The deity itself is God. So it will reciprocate. The deities have been known to be talking to their devotees. It depends on, your relationship. So that the reciprocity that you were looking for, that comes there. So it requires, and that's why we are very, very thankful to Srila Prabhupada that he wrote all these books and describes very nicely and actually I think he beautifully in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, Kavim Puranam Manushashitaram Anoriyan Samanutsmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. So he's describing the super soul in the form of a super soul when I'm there in the body. How does he look like, right? So Kavim Puranam, Kavim is very intelligent. Purana means existing from times immemorial. Kavim Puranam, Anushashitaram, who controls everything, controls his entire universe. Kavim Puranam, Anushashitaram, Anon Aniyansam Anusmaredya. Anon Anusamyam means he's smaller than even an atom. So in that size, he's kind of like there. So if you think of God, Anusmaredya, Sarvasya Dhataram, I take care of everybody. I protect everybody. Sarvasya Dhataram, Achintya Rupam. It's difficult for you to imagine the Roop because we are conditioned in the material world because it's a transcendental form of the Lord. Achintya Rupam, Aditya Varnam. Aditya means sun. That's exactly. Aditya means sun. So golden like the sun. So his color is golden like the Aditya Varnam. Tamsa Parastat. So he is Paras. He is beyond the Tamas. He is beyond this material world. So that is how he's defining it. So now, as I defined it, I could see the glee on your faces. You were enjoying the description of Krishna, right? So once you know that this is the form, this is there. In this form, he's in my heart. So even if you have to sit down and meditate on the Paramatma in your heart, then you have a very beautiful picture there. And Bhagavatam will describe even more, what clothes he's wearing, what jewelry he's wearing, what helmet he's wearing. It's amazing, amazing description there. And so that relationship is much better defined there. Any more comments?
Question. Yeah, if we
Oh,
do
sorry.
good in this life, we will transition to better life. So what is the difference between three? The Swarga, Moksha and Nirvana.
And Nirvana. Okay. So moksha. Moksha is, let me just go back to my favorite statement from over here. In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance and completely miserable, right? Anybody face miseries in the body? Okay, so people get sick and tired, and they figure it out that all my problems are coming from the body, and the body means this body and the extensions of the body. What are body's extensions?
Including mind.
Yes, What are some of the extensions of your body?
Senses.
Yeah, senses are still contained in the body. So in the body we'll have the gross body, plus as you mentioned, subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, false ego. Yeah, and mind gives us the biggest grief. Yeah. But what are extensions of our body?
Like our family
Kids.
members.
The family member,
Kids,
the
family.
kids.
Possessions.
Yeah, kids, family members. How far can you
Right.
extend?
Or physical
Beyond the kids, can you go?
Oh,
Job.
Yeah, the job, the colleagues, right? They're all boss, kids, friends, in-laws, right? Relatives, neighbors, community, your city,
country.
yeah, my country, exactly, my planet. Right? It can extend, and in Kali Yuga, interplanetary travel is not allowed, but in the older other millenniums, people travel to other planetary systems as well. So you can extend anywhere that anywhere as you like, right? Because like Brihaspati is sitting in one planet, but he has got disciples on other planets, and he might think like my disciple like that. So these things can extend. So the body and extensions of the body give us grief. And so we figured it out that, because of the body this problem is coming, so all that I want is to somehow get rid of this body. Right? So when I get rid of the body, that is known as moksha. Sometimes people also call that as nirvana.
So no more reincarnations.
There's no more reincarnations.
Okay.
However, there are two types of mokshas, or this is all called moksha, liberation, mukti, nirvana. People use the same terms, to describe this situation where you have realized that you're a soul, you're not the body. Okay? The moment you realize that you're the soul, not the body, then you are detached from the body, the concept that I am this body, because that is what gives me the grief, and you figure it out. So now, for example, if I don't identify with things, for example, this is my computer, right? I paid for it. But this is my computer, but I am not this computer. I know that I'm not this computer. So you can bring a hammer and you can slash this computer to pieces. I won't feel the pain because I'm not this computer. Okay? Similarly, if you take a pair of scissors and you cut the sleeve off, I won't feel the pain at all, right? But if they use the same scissors and now you try to cut my arm off, then I will shout because I'm identifying that this is my body, this is me, I am this. Because I don't know. I'm just reading and you're saying there's a soul, but I don't know where the soul is. I have not realized the soul yet, right? So, but when you reach that stage, when you're realizing that you are the soul and not the body, that is known as liberation or moksha. Okay? So depending on where you were and what sort of mukti that you were looking for. So the first type of mukti, where you're just realizing that you're the soul, is usually obtained by people who are believing in the impersonal concept of God. So for them, mukti is realizing that I am not this body, leaving this body and merging into the effulgence of the Lord. So that is just called mukti. Okay. Then there is another type of mukti which is called as V-mukti. V, whenever you add a V to the word, it becomes a intensifier. It's a greater thing and a higher thing. So what is V-mukti? V-mukti is actually when you realize that you are the soul, and then you also realize that there is God. And then you also realize your relationship with God. And then you also know what are you supposed to do. Right? So there are three things that actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the Vedas teach, all the Vedas and all the Puranas and all the scriptures are actually telling you, ultimately they tell you only three things. Number one, they tell you the Sambandha. They give you Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Gyan means what is your relationship, you the soul, what is your relationship with God. Right? Sambandha Gyan they will give you. Right? So your soul, your God, and what is your relationship? So what is our relationship with God? Who is God? He's our cousin or he's our boss? Or what is he?
It's the way we look at him, right?
Yeah.
They could be like
Go ahead.
grandfather, grandfather.
Right. Yes. And in every form, whether you are his friend, whether you are his father, whether you are his lover, or whether you are a servant, in every case you will be doing loving service to him. Right? If you are a servant, give me an example of a servant of the Lord, very famous servant of the Lord. Hanumanji, right? So Hanumanji did seva, he jumped across the ocean, he went to find Sita, then he got the Vanar Sena, so on and so forth. When Lakshman was, unconscious, he went and brought so he's doing service, right? As we understand it. But then, doesn't Yashoda Maiya do service for him? Right? So even in the form of a mother, even in the parent, even in the form of a friend, right? Or even a lover, you still do loving service to the Lord. So that is known as Vimukti. So when you go and do that, right? So Sambandh is to understand that I am a servant of the Lord, and I could be serving him in different capacities and through different relationships, but that is Sambandh. And then we have the Abhideya. Abhideya is that, okay, now you have a relationship with God, what are you supposed to do? Right? For example, if you take talking about relationships, if a boy has to be married with a girl, right? So according to the Vedic system, what happens is the parents will choose, right? It doesn't happen these days, but the parents will choose. Okay, I have a daughter, I have a son, we'll talk, and then, they will arrange a match. So they arrange a match, so there's a relationship that has kind of been shaping up, right? This man is going to become this woman's husband, and this one will become the wife, right? Like that. And then there is, there will be some yagya, and the vivaha sanskar will happen. Now the relationship has been formalized and legalized and whatever you call that, right? So that is the sambandh has been established. Okay. Then after that, when the sambandh is there, then they have been married, then the girl doesn't say, okay, I've been married, bye-bye, I'm going back with my parents. And the man also doesn't say that, okay, marriage is over, ceremony is over, I'm going back, heading to my office or whatever, right? So they are supposed to go and live together, right? So once a relationship has been established, then after that, a relationship has been, made, then there is something that they are supposed to do. So the wife will serve the husband will take care of the wife, and so on and so forth. Right? So in this relationship, we've established the relationship, again, similarly, establish a relationship with Lord, and then what am I supposed to do? I'm a servant of the Lord, what am I supposed to do? So then it will tell you all the ways, of doing devotional service, 9 methods of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Archanam, Vandanam, all those methods they will tell you, right? And there are so many things a devotee is supposed to do. So that is the Abhideya. So the scriptures tell you about the Abhideya as well. And then the last one is the Prayojan. So Prayojan is what is the goal. So again, going back to an example of a boy and a girl, so they had Sambandh, and then we talked the Abhideya. They're living together, but why are they living together? Right? Boys and girls live together, even if they are not married. They live together. For example, students live together, and in these days, it is. In my days, girls used to live together with girls, and boys used to live together with boys. But nowadays, they don't care. It's all about money these days. I need a room partner so that we can share the rent, so it doesn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl. So they're living together, but they're not wife and husband, right? Their purpose and their goal is very different. But here, talking about why a boy got married to a girl, is that they want to create progeny, right? And if you want to create children, then you have to be married, according to the Shastra. So their goal is to get, and ultimately, the Karmakandi aspect of it is that they need a son. And why do they need a son? Is because they want somebody to perform the Shraddha ceremony. Because if you don't have a son, you won't perform the Shraddha ceremony, right? The Karmakandi part of it majorly does that, where you're only concerned about more enjoyments. So sometimes our ancestors might not get a body when they die. They could still be in the subtle form. So in the subtle form, you still have the mind, like you were saying. So the soul left this gross body, and when the soul leaves this gross body and enters into another body, it carries the subtle body with it. Carries the mind, it carries the intelligence, carries the false ego, like that. It takes it. That is why they're able to remember the previous birth and things like that, because the mind is there, it has the memory. So, it's going to go into a new body, but if you don't have a new body, and it's very complex, you getting a body is a very complex thing, because you get a body to satisfy your desires that you had, and also for the karmic reactions to set in. And if you slapped somebody and now he needs to slap you back, now he needs to be be born in the same area, same whatever, like that. So it's pretty complex like that. So sometimes people don't get a body, but the mind is there, so the desires are there. So if the person liked rasgullas, so now the desire is there to eat rasgullas, but he doesn't have a body to eat, doesn't have a tongue to eat. So it's a very miserable situation to be in. So what the son will do is perform the Shraddha ceremony, offer something to Vishnu, and that prasad is offered to him, and they can take that prasad and enjoy, and they get that part of it. So that is the ultimate aim why people do that. So back again to Krishna. So we need to understand our sambandh, we need to understand the abhidheya, and we need to understand the prayojan. So what is the goal? So ultimate goal is to get prema, Krishna prema, love of Krishna. And do we have love of Krishna? Sometimes we might think that we have love of Krishna, because we are chanting, or because I'm giving this lecture, you're listening to the lecture, I spend my Friday afternoon doing Bhakti, Vrksa and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so the love is there, definitely, but it has to expand, and it has to become, all-consuming for you, in the sense that if there's a knock at the door and the Krishna says, Shraddha devi Dasi, come with me, then I should just leave and go, and I should be willing to leave and go, and I just shouldn't say that, my husband is sitting over here, like that. So that is the extreme love, and that kind of extreme love was exhibited by the gopis of Vrindavan, because their love is the maximum, the highest love. They gave up their son, they gave up their husbands, everything. If Krishna would still play the flute in the middle of the night, they will leave everything, because they knew that if you leave your husband's home in the night and go off somewhere, when you come back the next day, everybody's going to give you grief. Everybody's, you won't have any face left in the society. But they still did that for Krishna, because when God is calling, they go, like that. So, long answer, very, very long-minded thing, but that is vimukti, when you ultimately go and find your relationship with the Lord and start serving Him in the spiritual planets. That is vimukti. And that is where our aim is. And our aim is not just to get merged into effulgence, because we'll again fall down from there. So what's the point, If you're going in a direction, we just reach the proper destination instead of taking a detour and then having to come back again. Maybe go back and then start again into the scratch, like that. So, yeah. Any other questions? Anything else? Are we ready to go into the Paramatma aspect then? All righty. So whose turn was it? Mataji. Oh, yeah.
Paramatma is the all-pervading, localized aspect of the absolute truth. He is the four-handed form of the Vishnu, present in every atom as well as in the hearts of all living beings. The student who has advanced further in the study of the sun can know the sun disk. They can be compared to the yogis or the meditators who perceive these Paramatma features of the absolute truth.
Bhagavan is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth and is the last word in transcendence. The students who can enter into the sun planet are compared to the bhaktas or the devotees who realize the personal features of the supreme absolute truth. This Bhagavan aspect is the all glorious, all beautiful, threefold bending form of Shri Krishna holding a flute in his hands. Realization of this Bhagavan features automatically includes the realization of the Brahman and Paramatma features, just as a person who has understood the sun planet automatically comes to know that the sun is the source of both the sunshine and sun disk. The Vedic literatures thus clearly declare that the supreme absolute truth has a form, but they also explain that his form is certainly not like ours, made of flesh, bone, and blood. Our body is temporary and is the cause of our ignorance and misery, whereas the Krishna's body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Should I start? Read more? Okay. Thus, the form of Krishna is completely transcendental, beyond the limits of sense perception. Nevertheless, he has a form. To help us understand how his form is completely different from ours, Krishna performed a wonderful pastime which is described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Once, when Krishna was still a child, his mother Yashodhamai looked into his mouth to see if he has eaten mud. What would one expect to see in the mouth of an ordinary mortal? The oral cavity with teeth, tongue, and palate. Nothing worth seeing. Yet when she looked into the mouth of Krishna, she saw the entire universe in his mouth. All the direction, the mountains, the islands, oceans, seas, planets, air, fire, moon, and star. In this universe, she also saw herself looking into Krishna's mouth. This pastime illustrates that although Krishna appeared to be just like an ordinary child standing in front of his mother, he simultaneously contained the entire universe within himself. This conclusion that God has a personal form is the most confidential knowledge taught by the Vedas, and it has revealed to the world by His divine grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who thus opened the lid of the honey bottle of love of Krishna and made it available for anyone and everyone throughout the world to drink and relish. To make the subject free from all ambiguity, he would always refer to the absolute truth Krishna not just as God but the supreme personality of Godhead. This is the English equivalent of the Sanskrit word Bhagwan, which refers to the ultimate aspect of the absolute truth. When Krishna is addressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is clearly understood that he has a form and a personality, and the word Godhead signifies that he is Supreme God.
Comments, questions, reflections.
Mataji, what is the meaning of that word how do you say ambiguity? How do you say it?
Ambiguity means vague. It's not very clear.
Okay.
Is it this or is it that? So there's some ambiguity in the mind, that not clarity, lack of clarity is there. So, and the exact meaning is that the quality of being opens to more than one interpretation, inexactness, like we can detect no ambiguity in this section of the act. So it comes from Old French ambiguité, or from Latin, which means ambiguitas. So more than one interpretation. I don't know whether this is this or whether it is this, right? So there's some ambiguity there. Okay, let's see. I think let's go into the question. Yeah, Niral, Prabhu, you were saying something?
No, that's the thing. The conclusion is God as a personal form.
Yeah. There should be no ambiguity in that. Yeah. So let's look at the questions there, and let's go to the discovery part because that will invoke some thoughts. Yeah. So what are the different phases of understanding God? What are the phases that we can understand? Vadanti Tattvidas, that one. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwaniti Shabdate, right? So Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. Okay, good. And what was the example that they gave? Analogy? The sun. Very good. Right. Okay. Question number 2. Does God have a form? What is the nature of his form? Explain on the basis of scripture. See addendum on the next page. So let's go and see the addendum first, right? Okay. So let's start reading the addendum again. Scripture, go just on the next page. Addendum after the questions are there.
Generally, people have a notion that this absolute truth is some power or some form of energy. But the actual fact is that God is a personal being, just like each one of us is a personal being. He is
Sentient.
and he reciprocates love with his unlimited subordinates. The living entities in his own abode, known variously as the kingdom of God or the spiritual world. All religions refer to God as a personal being and not as a power or a void. For example, in the Bible, it describes God as having the semblance of a human form.
Well, that statement is not true for Islam and Judaism, correct?
Well, it's funny because I grew up in a Muslim city, and it's only when I came here to USA that I started hearing about that Muslims say that God doesn't have a form. Because as I was growing up, they use the term Allah Mia, and Mia is Mr. So when he's saying Mr. God, that clearly is telling you that he's a man, and then he has a form. So I'm also very surprised. I don't know much about the Islamic religion, but
it's absolutely against any form.
Yeah, no. They are against idol worship. That was very true there also. Like they would go into where they do the namaz prayers for them. You couldn't even have a calendar with anybody's picture on it because they don't bow down before anybody other than God. So you're not supposed to bow down their head before anybody. So which again makes me feel that if God is formless, then who are you bound down to? So God is a form. For them, Allah Mia has a form. But I don't know enough about that religion, so for me to comment on it. But I can only tell from my experience of having grown up there that they would say, Allah Mia, mera haath pakad lo. Like God come and hold my hand. So how will God hold your hand if he doesn't have hands? Like that, right? So yeah. That's not my area to comment on. Yeah.
In Genesis chapters 18 and 19, it is stated that God appeared before Abraham in a human-like form. Although the form is not elaborately described, there are also many other references to the form of God, such as under his feet, the eyes of the Lord, Genesis 38:7, the ears of the Lord, number 11.1, and inscribed with finger of God, Exodus 31:18. So in the Quran, to Allah's face, Wajah 55:26-27, Allah's eye, etc. are clearly mentioned.
How can an impersonal God have feet, finger, hand, eyes, ears, etc.? The Vedic literatures which predate the Bible as well as the Quran and which were written in a highly advanced spiritual culture also declares God to have a personal form. But they go well beyond that. They especially reveal his form, his features, his pastimes, and his personality. Of course, the attributes of God are infinite, and words can only hint at His glory.
You got the instrument now.
A few quotes from the Vedic scriptures provide the form of God are given below. Om Shri Krishnaya Nama Om Sat Chit Ananda Rupaya. I invoke Lord Krishna, who possesses a form that is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Upanishad. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha Anandir Adir Govinda Sarva Karnam. That's Brahma Samhita. Krishna, that is God, is the supreme controller. He is a form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. He is the prime cause of all causes. Here the word Vigraha, which means form, is explicitly used. The Vedic literature also gives vivid descriptions of the form of the Lord. For example, Alola Chandraka Lasad Vanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranaya Kali Kala Vilashan Shyam Tri Bangra Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jewel ornaments, who always reveals in pastime of love, and whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyam Sundara is eternally manifest. There are many other similar descriptions about the Lord.
The Gyanis or monists often cite verses from Upanishads to support the impersonal viewpoint, but in Ishopanishad we find Hiramayev Pratrina. I'll just get to the meaning of it. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee.
That the Brahmajyoti is Krishna's effulgence is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.27 as well as Brahma Samhita 5.40. Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagat Anda Koti Kotish Vashesha Vasudhangi Vibhuti Bhinna Tat Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Govindam Adipurusham Tamham Rajami. In the million and millions of universe there are innumerable planets, and in each and every one of them there is a different form of others by its cosmic constitution. All of these planets are situated in a corner of Brahmajyoti. This Brahmajyoti is but the personal rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, whom I worship. This mantra from Brahma Samhita is spoken from the platform of factual realization of absolute truth by first creating living being Lord Brahma.
Thank you. So here, this is talking about that there are millions and millions of universes, right? And they are all hanging in the light. So you can imagine Krishna to be in the center, and from Krishna, a lot of effulgence is coming out. And all these material universes that are there, which millions of planets, billions of planets, they are kind of hanging in one part of the Brahma Jyoti. So in these, among all these planets, for example, Earth is a planet, then there are planets which are more superior than Earth, and they are known as heavenly planets, but they're still material planets. Because to answer the other part of your question, so when a person dies, one is liberation, which means that he's got nothing to do now with birth and death. He has gone either back to Krishna or he's hanging somewhere in the Brahma Jyoti. But at least he's not, for some time, he's not going to have a birth and death cycle. He's out of the karmic reactions and all that stuff have finished for him, right? And the second is that, by doing good things, as you were mentioning, by doing some good things, you get some credits. Just like, you go to a bank, and if you get so much of balance in the bank, then they might, give you more, higher interest rate and things like that, so you get some reward. So similarly here also, if you do good, then whether you do good, you will get good back from it. If you do bad, then you'll get bad. The two don't nullify each other. It's not like, I do something good here and I do something bad here. Because I did bad and good, they're nullified. So I won't get any reaction. It's not like that. For good, you have to enjoy the good. And for the bad, you have to suffer the bad. Suffer the reaction for that. So, because of the good that we do, we will be elevated to higher planetary systems. For example, the Kshatriyas, when they die in a war, or even here, US Army, young boy dies in the war, where does he go after he dies? So he goes to special planets where there is more opulence, there is more, better wine and better fruits and, better everything, and a longer life. But the life is long, it doesn't mean that it's eternal life. They will still come down. And ultimate thing is to get the vimukti, as I was talking about. Ultimate. It's vimoksha, I would say. Yeah, vimoksha, right? But the term is vimukti, that you have to ultimately get out of this cycle of birth and death and reach a place where Krishna is living. So if you want to know a little description of where Krishna lives, I had given a Khyati, Mataji? That one, Khyati, that one page document that I had sent.
Yeah,
Later,
it's in the 17th last page. So if you go to the
17 last page. All right. Thank you. So I want a reader who's going to read the translation at the bottom. Or readers. There are 3 paragraphs. I need 3 readers. Okay. You want to read? Rakesh Babu, you want to read? You're on the camera? Okay. Go ahead, Piyush. Please read.
So just the translation.
Just the translation, yeah. The paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah. The beautiful place known as Vrindavan is transcendental abode in the spiritual world and is made entirely of divine touchstones. There are many beautiful temples made out of jewels and swans, known as Rajhamsa, play in the waters of the river Yamuna, which flows through the transcendental land. In the water of that divine river, there is beautiful golden lotus of 100 petals.
So just try to imagine as he's reading it, right? They're describing Vrindavan, and not the Vrindavan the Vrindavan, the transcendental Vrindavan they are describing. So in Vrindavan also there is a Yamuna river. Like when you go to India, there is the Yamuna river, which of course is an extension. But there also, and inside the river there are swans that are swimming, right?
Yeah.
And then what is there also in the river?
There's
a
beautiful
golden
lotus.
Beautiful golden lotus. So try to imagine that, right?
Yeah.
And okay.
In the midst of that lotus, there is a golden platform surrounded by 8 petals. Situated upon those 8 petals are the principal Sakhis, headed by Lalita and Vishakha. On that golden platform, the divine couples sit upon a jeweled throne. In the company of Lord Shyama sits the beautiful Radhika.
Yeah. So again, inside the lotus, then there is another platform surrounded by 8 petals, and then Radha and Krishna is sitting, and they have got the 8 principal gopis. So there are 8 gopis which are very close to this couple, and so they're saying headed by Lalita. So there's Lalita, there's some on the side of Radha, there's some on the side of Krishna. If you go to Mayapur in Calcutta, you'll see the Ashtakis there. So there is Lalita, there is Vishakha, there is Chitralekha, Tungabhadra, Sudevi, Rangadevi, so on and so forth. There are 8 of them like that. So they are all sitting there. Okay, then please continue.
The beauty and sweetness of Sri Radha and Govinda's form during their talks, which are filled with smiles and laughter, is emanating showers of nectar. Narottam Das says, "May these eternal pastimes filled with transcendental joy be ever manifest in my heart."
Okay, so then we will sing this song which is there on the top, which is written by Narottam Das. So we'll take it we'll take 2 lines at a time, and then I'll sing it, and then we'll all sing it together. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Vrindavana Ramya Sthana Divya Chintamani Dhama Ratna Mandira Manohara. Vrindavana Ramya Sthana Divya Chintamani Dhama Ratna Mandira Manohara. Abrita Kalandini Re Raja Hamsa Kelikare Kahe Shobhe Kanaka Kamala. Abrita Kalandini Re Raja Hamsa Kelikare Kahe Shobhe Kanaka Madhye Hema Pitha Ashtadale Beshitita Ashtadale Pradhana Naika. Madhye Hema Pitha Ashtadale Beshitita Ashtadale Pradhana Madhye Ratnasane Bashiyache Dui Jane Shama Sange Sundari Radhika. Madhye Ratnasane Bashiyache Dui Jane Shama Sange Sundari Radhika. Pala banya rasi amiya pariche khasi hasya pari hasya sambhashane. Pala banya rasi amiya pariche khasi hasya pari hasya sambhashane. Narottam Dasa Kaya Nitya Leela Sukha Maya Sadai Spuruka Mora Mane. Narottam Dasa Kaya Nitya Leela Sukha Maya Sadai Spuruka Mora Mane. Vrindavana Ramya Sthana Divya Chintamani Dhama Ratna Mandira Manohara. Vrindavana Ramya Sthana Divya Chintamani Dhama Ratna Mandira Manohara. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama if you go back to chapter 16, other handout, and you will go to the prasadam honoring prayers.
There is no prasadam only.
In 16. It's there in 16. Oh, you did it separately? Okay.
Yeah. No. I just kept it.
We don't have prayers, so we don't have prasadam.
So we have prayers.
The more important question.
We have prayers and prasadam both.
So we have been singing this all along. I'm just going to tell you a new tune, but I won't sing in that because it's going to take a long time to sing that. But Sharira abhitya jala jodindriya tahe kala jive fele vishaya sagore. Sharira abhitya jala jodindriya tahe kala jive fele vishaya sagore. Tara madhye jivavati lobhamoye sudirmati take jeta kathina sansare. Tara madhye jivavati lobhamoye sudirmati take jeta kathina sansare. Krishna barodaya moy kori bare jiva joy saprasada anadilo bhai. Krishna barodaya moy kori bare jiva joy saprasada anadilo bhai. Say annamrita pao Radha Krishna guna gao Premedha ko Chaitanya Nitai. Say annamrita pao Radha Krishna guna gao Premedha ko Chaitanya Nitai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Come, let's take prasadam. Okay, if there are any questions, then we will talk about those over the prasadam. And I would like to thank all of you for joining the class, as well as those of you who are joining us online. We'll meet again in a fortnight's time. Hare Krishna. We're going to switch off the broadcasting now.